There is proper news happening.
Yes, and I'm going to kick off with Millie Watch. This is a bit of a long one, but I think it bears looking into, because we have a new Millie Watch, Dave, and isn't this getting interesting? At long last, we've had a barrage of news stories from official sources directly referencing the rumours we've been reporting on from back in January surrounding Millie Gibson leaving Doctor Who. And this would be tops if the response was happening back in maybe early February, but here we are in late April and it's only just starting. It seems it took the team a little while to get their story together. And what I noticed about basically all these news stories, Dave, is they go in with this real attitude of, back in January, the papers said Millie was sacked. And yet here she is. She's going to be in season 2. So those awful newspapers, they were wrong. They're always wrong, even though they're usually always right. And they're basing it off stuff like this RTD quote. And I quote him. He says, "We're heading into season 2. And my God, Ruby Sunday is important to that. There's good stuff to come." Or this quote from Millie. "Russell's given me the gift of a really beautiful story arc, not only in season 1, but in season 2 also." Or this other RTD quote. "Not leaving. Not at all. We were ordered for 2 years of a series off Disney and we're delivering 2 years. And the Ruby Sunday story literally spans those 2 years." Now I'll pause there, Dave, to see if you have anything to say. I've got a lot more to say after that.
Only that I'm very, very interested to see how this plays out. We suspect that there's a bit more going on under the surface. We don't actually know that that's the case. We know that RTD and the BBC spin for their lives. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where the truth is. I'm kind of just finding Millie Watch now a really good spectator sport.
Well, here's the thing. The news report that started it all back in January said very clearly that Millie would be in the second season. So RTD and Millie saying, "Look, she's in season 2," doesn't actually refute what the rumour was. Everyone's either forgotten what was actually said or have maybe read second-hand accounts by people who read the original and they didn't understand it, or they rewrote it clumsily for their own blogs, and the nuance of her being in season 2 was lost. Saying her story spans 2 seasons doesn't mean she's in all of it. And folks, do remember, the original rumour piece, which people are now saying was wrong, with a, wobble of the head, also broke the news that Verada Sethu would be joining the show, and this was before she was even seen on set, so it clearly had some good sources. And I know you have more to say about Verada in a minute, Dave, so I won't go down that rabbit hole. I'll just say my gut feeling, as we sit here in April 2024, more than a year away before the second season's going to air, is that I think Millie's in maybe half the episodes, but not the whole thing. I feel the quotes being doled out to the media are designed to paper over the cracks for now, because saying she's in season 2 is perfectly true. And if media outlets take that to mean she's in all of season 2 and run with that when she actually isn't, then the tactics work. The BBC marketing team's going to be cracking the champers. I think we'll have a better idea come Christmas, because you'd expect, Dave, that if none of this rumour was true, if all of this was just nonsense, then Millie will have to be in the 2024 Christmas episode for starters, right? Because that was one of the things that article said. It said she's not going to be in at Christmas. She's in limited stories in the second season. But hey, I guess the marketing team has 8 months now to come up with a story when we cross that bridge.
Yeah, I think that nothing that's been said in those quotes that you've mentioned there, Rob, is going to prove to be untrue.
Correct.
But also nothing that you read out there contradicts the rumours that have been floating around and that we talked a bit about in February. So is the truth somewhere between there, to go all Vorlon on you, Rob? Your truth is a three-edged sword. Your version, my version, and the truth in between. So maybe that's the case here.
Well, that final Russell quote I read out, the one where he's like, the Ruby Sunday story literally spans those 2 years. It's almost like Russell doth protest too much. That's just my take anyway.
Yes, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens, and potentially, as I've said before, to wait 30 years for the tell-all book and find out what really happened.
Exactly.